Hey everybody, it's Seth, aka Target from Rogue Patriots Paintball. Wanted to do a brief video on comms, more specifically talk about the radio, one of the radios that we're currently testing that meets a lot of the features, if not all the features and criteria we're looking for in a new radio system. Now the radio I'm going to talk about here is the Retevis Ailunce HD1 GPS. They make a GPS and a non-GPS model. Basically one's got a GPS positioning system built in and the other doesn't. Now that doesn't mean it shows maps and things on there, but I'll get to that in a little bit about what that means. Go straight into the features, let's get to it. This radio, really just first impressions, haven't had it that long, but so far I think it's an awesome radio. We wanted digital and analog. We've been using digital. This is a different digital standard than we're using. This is digital mobile radio. It's widely used by professionals, commercial operations, and amateur radio enthusiasts. DMR has a whole host of features in and of itself, one of which is different types of calls. Of course, it's digital. You can do direct calling, so one radio ID to another radio ID, completely private call, so maybe to a sniper that you don't want to be burning out his ear with all the radio traffic. Group calling, one radio to many radios, so you could set up different groups or have everybody in one group for like the majority of your team, or just everybody that's playing forward, however you want to do it. Just helps you organize and contact just those people in that group. And then of course there's all calling, or all call, which would be if you had the same DMR settings on another DMR radio, it would broadcast out to any other DMR radio. Typically what you're going to use is group call, one to many. And you might want to set up different groups for commanders only, maybe one for everybody, maybe one group, additional group, for just a team. Like I said, however you want to organize it, it's just a good feature. And then of course maybe you'll use the private call, which is just one radio to one radio if you don't want to be passing along information to everybody out there or burn it up their ears. Analog, backwards compatible with the UHF, VHF, Baofeng style radios out there, amateur radios. Works on the 2 meter and 70 centimeter UHF and VHF frequencies. You do have to have a license. I know a lot of people don't, but you do have to have a license to operate and transmit on amateur radio frequencies. So think about getting your paintball group, your team, your club into maybe a local amateur radio, or ham radio as they call it, group to get some training, do some online practice tests, get some books, whatever. It's a fairly easy test. It'll teach you a lot about amateur radio and radio in general, how it works. It'll help you out on the field. It'll get you legal, and you'll know the do's and don'ts of what you can and can't do with the amateur radio frequencies. Moving along, this does have GPS. That's something we're looking forward to experimenting with. Not a lot of radios out there, especially on the paintball field, are doing any type of GPS beaconing. It's been around for a while, but it's nice because these radios can send GPS, lat-long coordinates and other information and data packets through the digital DMR system to other radios. So our hope is that in the future we can collaborate with other people out there who are interested in doing the same thing to set up a laptop or a tablet connected to a radio that's hearing all those beacons, and we can have a real-time tactical location map with where our players are at. That would definitely be awesome, and I think really change the game and make it a lot more fun. We wanted a rugged radio, something that's not too hefty and too heavy. We want to keep the weight down, of course, but not something that's too small, nimble, and fragile. Something in between. It's going to work well, but will work well in a gloved hand. And this radio does that as well. You can see I've got a Baofeng 82 or UV82 radio next to it. So they're similar in size. I don't know the specific weight, but actually I think they're almost close to the exact same weight. This one, the Retevis radio, the HD1, is a little bit heftier. I think the plastic's a little bit more durable. Actually, I think it's a lot more durable. Much larger screen, and very easy to use with gloves, but not too heavy, too bulky. As far as the dials, I'm sorry, let me go back to being rugged. We also wanted something that was waterproof or had a water-resistant rating. This does have an IP67 rating. You can Google that, but basically it can be submerged like up to a meter, or I don't know, look it up. But for like half an hour. So it's going to work fine in the rainstorms and snowstorms and wet weather that we're all used to playing in, infantry weather, paintball weather. We beat our gear up, so you don't want to go out there with something that's going to fall apart and break apart. And this radio, so far, in my initial impressions, I haven't had it that long yet, but so far it's been pretty good, pretty reliable. Gotten good feedback from the members that have used it of our team. Getting ready to do Black Dawn coming up at Southern Maryland Paintball this weekend, and looking forward to testing out the digital features on it. We only have 4 radios from Retevis. Not a negative thing, it's great, it's awesome. Shout out to Retevis for sending the Ailunce HD1. They sent us a package of 4 radios, chargers, shoulder mics or PSA mics, radio mics, and a battery, and the other accessories that come with it. So big shout out to them for letting us try it out, of course, and so far this looks like a good contender for us for a new radio system or a new radio model. The connector on it. Connector is also very rugged. Most of these radios, the Kenwoods, Motorola's, have a 2-pin connector, something similar to this that you plug in your accessories with, programming cable, headsets, throat mics, whatever. That's great. I don't have this unscrewed here on the panel, the port here, but it can get loose, come unplugged, can short out the connections inside and ruin the radio, can short out the connections in the wiring of a headset that may have cost, or a microphone that may have cost more than the radio. It's not very weather resistant, can cause a lot of problems. So with the Ailunce, this radio actually has a Motorola M4 multi-pin kind of flat connector here, you can see. And that's beautiful because, for instance, like with the speaker mic that they sent to us, which by the way is excellent. It looks a little dinky, but clip attachment goes into the MOLLE. Great quality on the mic. I know I'm getting off track, but great transmission, voice quality, and it's got a headphones port. So if you're going to be up front or doing covert missions, you won't have to worry. You can put an earphone in and then just use this as the microphone. But this connector, basically, in any other accessory that uses M4 should work. You just kind of wedge it up in the top here, screw it in. It stays tight, stays weatherproof, sealed, and prevents, almost eliminates any type of bending of any pins, because there's no real pins sticking out. Anyway, so that's a great feature, and that's something that I would highly recommend in a radio, and that's something that I'm loving that this radio has. Just not having to deal with shorter cables or issues with that. Moving along, we wanted something that had encryption. Again, on ham, well, I didn't say this yet, but you do need a license to operate on amateur radio, ham radio frequencies. And I said, I recommend doing that. But even so, with a license, encryption is something it is illegal to use on ham radio frequencies. So do not do that. It's a lot of radios out there have analog and digital privacy codes, but those just prevent you from hearing other traffic that's not on the same code. And some radios even have voice scramblers or modulators that make it garbled. Whatever works, whatever's going to help you out, but it's not true encryption, and anybody with the same radio could potentially you very easily get in and hear your conversation even with voice scrambling. These radios actually have encryption. I don't know what specific standard they are, like if it's AES 256 or whatnot, but they have standard and enhanced encryption. You can specify your own keys and for each radio. So even if someone with the same radio has it and they don't have the key, if you're operating on a legal frequency where you can use encryption, it's actually got some sort of voice encryption. Could someone crack it? Anything's possible. But people do try to do that type of stuff, but at least this is a step up, definitely, from privacy codes, of course, and the voice scrambling. Moving along, we wanted something that was field programmable. Obviously, you got to program these radios. It's easier to do on a computer than on the keypad. This radio actually has, let me turn it on here. little bonus, eye candy. You can plug in your own logo there when it boots up. This radio has got a nice color screen, big screen. It's fairly rugged so far, and it's easy to go in, and you can program almost any feature on the radio through the keypad. Of course, it's going to take a while to get used to. The digital programming is a little bit different from analog programming. Going to be easier on a computer or a laptop, but in the case that you need to do that on the field or at the field and you don't have a laptop or a computer to do it, the majority of features can be programmed in through here. They're still working out a few bugs and things with the radio, but overall my experience has been very positive with this radio. Battery life, don't know, haven't tested it, haven't recharged them yet, but haven't used them for an extensive period of communication time yet. So hopefully this weekend at Black Dawn with the as command radios we can figure that out. I can give you some specs here in just a minute on the radio, but you're going to get a long battery life from what I've seen already from playing around with it. In summary, this radio that we're testing out has pretty much all the features that we're looking for. Backwards compatibility with analog, you can program it on the field without too much trouble. The digital mobile radio standards is digital. Encryption, assuming it's legal on certain channels, true encryption. It's very rugged, it's waterproof, solid connector. I mean, I was gonna say I really couldn't ask for any more. Actually, I can, but most of that stuff is beyond the realm of what I would want to pay for it. But $200 for the radio, the GPS radio, the speaker mic, antenna, a clip and a strap, and 2 batteries and charger, somewhere in that neighborhood. It's pretty good. And a lot of you might also be saying, well, $200 for a radio. I mean, you get what you pay for. The Baofangs are great. You can get them for like $40 or something like that. But moving into the future with all these features, especially digital, I think that's a fair price. But there are other DMR digital radios out there that don't do quite as much, that you can get cheaper from Retevis and from other companies. So look around, do your research. This is just something I wanted to bring forward at what we're looking at and give you my first impressions. I have tested briefly the analog and digital transmission, and awesome clarity between radios. Of course, this is all in simplex or just radio to radio without using repeaters. I've tried it with my amateur radio license on repeaters, and it works very well also. Let me give you some quick specs here and pull up my phone and just give you some specs in case you're wondering and you're too lazy to go to the Retevis website, which I'll post on the screen here. This radio is a HD1 dual band digital radio, DMR. Uses analog. It's compatible with the Turbo Motorola Series Tier 1 and Tier 2 using standard encryption, as well as other DMR radios. UHF and VHF frequencies. Let's see here. It's the TDMA, time division multiple access. That's the type of digital sort of encoding it uses. In case you're wondering, yes, you can tune it to an FM frequency channel of your choice. I've never done that. Don't know why you would, but hey, you can do that just like It does not have a flashlight though. So, if you use the flashlight on your Baofang radio or whatever, you're out of luck on this. But maybe the screen brightness, will help you with that. Or you'll bring a flashlight. That's a good idea. 100,000 contacts it can store, plus 1,000 priority contacts. Up to 3,000 channels can be programmed in. It does dual time slot for repeaters and dual time slot for point-to-point simplex operation. Google it if you want more information on that. Some cool stuff in there. Upgradable firmware, IP67 waterproof, high power, 10 watts, 5 watt, and 1 watt selectable. You can set it to scan. It does obviously the DMR single, group, and all call functions. You can also do remote kill, stun, and activate. So if you know a radio ID, who's using it, and in like a scenario paintball game, someone gets captured. This has happened with our old radios that had this feature. Somebody got captured, we knew what radio they were using, and we sent a remote code to kill that radio so they could not listen in on our comms. So for ComSec, that's a pretty cool feature. Follow us on our YouTube channel and our social media, Facebook, Rogue Patriots Paintball, and even Instagram. We'll post some pictures. We're going to get more videos out on specifics about using this radio and our experience with it. But right now, I have to give this thing 2 thumbs up. It's overall just been a great radio, and as soon as we get more beating done to it and wear it down and put it through its paces, you'll see some more short videos coming out. Hey, hope to see everybody on the field. And hey, go out there and get your amateur radio license, learn more about it, and keep paintball good with the amateur radio community.